So, Miraculous Ladybug Season 5 finished up last year, and since then, whilst we've had the movie and the Paris special, as well as that pretty lame recycling special episode, for the most part we've had to settle in for the long wait for Miraculous content. And for many, this was a pretty daunting task. After all, I'd say that Miraculous had built somewhat of a reputation for dropping off the grid and not giving updates on their status for months on end, just disappearing, radio silence. You could go months without a scrap of news or a release date or anything like that.
We've gone all summer without a scrap of news.
And yeah, I figured that would be our fate, that we'd have to wait forever to know when we're getting Season 6, or any of the specials that had previously been announced to be coming, and that would be that. In all honesty, considering the pace of the release schedule in the past, which has historically been snail-paced, truly god-awful, I figured we wouldn't be seeing any content of note throughout 2024 at all. I figured we'd maybe get some episodes early 2025 at best, and then the specials even later than that. But hey, I'm glad to say, based on some information I've seen cropping up on social media, that it seems like I might be wrong in my assumptions, and that we're gonna see more stuff this year. Get hyped. Okay, so first bit of news, or, well, it's not really news, but good to know that it's still the plan. We're definitely going beyond this Season 6. Disney's confirmed to have Season 6 and Season 7 doing a global rollout. And yeah, as many people have said on social media, good luck with that, Disney. Good luck with that indeed. I can already hear the Gloob producers just rubbing their hands together, getting ready to release any episode they ever get their hands on, just as Disney announces the global release date.
Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Honestly, Gloob's desire to be the first channel to release the show internationally, it's got to be the funniest subplot in the history of the show. Like, these are companies, channels, that are worth, I'd expect, millions of dollars. And yet they're rushing to get these out before the others, like kids racing downstairs desperate to open their Christmas presents first. Good times. I really hope this continues on forever because it's just too funny. But yeah, we got those seasons on the way, with the belief, because as we know, delays can happen and plans can change, but the belief that next season's gonna debut in the fall. Or to people like me, who don't use that word regularly, the autumn. And I would presume that they mean Northern Hemisphere seasons for this, so around September, October, November, somewhere in there. Realistically, I'd say October, a nice middle ground. And I mean, that's a pretty long wait, but I was expecting a winter release date, as in next winter, so I guess it could always be worse, even if only by a couple of months. And so, that's Season 6. That's when that starts to release. Hell yeah. And then we have the potential release window for Season 7. If you want to be really optimistic about it, it's a narrow window. Maybe towards the end of 2025 if they finish Season 6 by then. After all, if you can recall, the release dates between the end of Season 4 and the start of Season 5 were actually really close together, unexpectedly close together. So there's every chance that we could see something similar here and get a big block of Miraculous content to tide us over. This would be the blessed timeline, the happy days timeline. But of course, we could also have another massive gap, a content winter as it were, between the release of Season 6 and Season 7. And I think, well, no one wants that. We'd all be disappointed by that turn of events, wouldn't we? Like, there's nothing worse than having to sit around and wait for over a year for the return of a show that you enjoy. Especially since I can still remember the good old days where every TV show would be an annual release. None of this 18 months to 2 years bullshit. They were churning out the content. Those were the days, I tell you what. World's changed.
I'm putting my foot down, Janelle. We're raising a nation of squibs.
And I think on top of that, the phrasing of the press releases and whatnot, they are kind of intentionally misleading to make you optimistic and hyped. They're saying, oh yeah, we've got Season 6 and 7 and all these specials rolling out in the fall. But they don't really mean that. They mean that in the fall, we will start rolling out some of this content, which means we'll start rolling out Season 6. It makes no real promise about when we'll see the specials, or when we'll see Season 7, just promising that when it does come out, it'll be on Disney. But yeah, the other big piece of news coming out of all this, 3 new specials. And they're going to release at some point in the future too. Because as I said before, they have that same release date tag, fall. And yeah, press X to doubt on that one. At best, they'll release 1 before this season comes out. 1. But beyond that, I expect that they're going to use these to bridge the gaps between seasons. So maybe the other two specials will find their spot somewhere in between season 6 and 7, or maybe one between season 6 and 7, and then the after season 7. I mean, that's probably the limit of how far you could possibly stretch these out, because otherwise you just question why they even announced that this special would release if it's not going to come out for years and years. But that being said, I do think we are coming into the era of them trying to milk this franchise for all it's worth and continue to expand it further and further. I think I read that there was going to be an Africa special at some point, probably in this set of 3. Then we've got a Brazil special, I'm pretty sure, and that's just off the top of my head. For the third one, I can't remember if they had an idea, but I really hope they go to that alternate timeline at some point as well, because just a really interesting tone shift from the original story, the original characters. It was a much darker take on the heroes and their lives, and it would be very interesting to see how all of that continues to pan out. But yeah, in terms of release dates, I would be very shocked if any of these release whilst one of the seasons is ongoing. So our best chance at one of the specials is before the fall when season 6 releases. Because as I said, this is exactly the type of stuff you want releasing in your off season, because it's there to build your hype, keep the fan base engaged, keep the social media going, and make sure that hype level never really drops off, that people are still talking about it all the time. That's what you want. Sells the toys, sells the merch, sells the engagement. After all, it's a business, and I just feel like that's the best business decision. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. And so, with all that being said, that's really the end of the video. So, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think about these announcements? Are you in the super optimistic camp that we're going to be getting a lot of content in a really short amount of time? Or are you more like me, a bit more cynical about all this? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.